Hi everyone, welcome to Yoga with Kelly. Today we're going to explore a couple arm balances as well as inversions. So we don't just jump right into an arm balance without being aware of what part of our body we're using, what part of our body we need to strengthen, and what part of our body is going to help keep us in balance as we're upside down. So a few exercises we're going to start with. You may want to grab a pair of socks, and I'll meet you right back here on the mat. So as we move into our arm balances and inversions, we first want to start with the hands. When we are in a chaturanga, we are building strength by gripping the floor and moving that energy up into the forearms, followed by the elbows and the shoulders. But within the hands, I want you to place the palms together and find the base knuckles in your hands. We have the fingernails, and the upper knuckle, the middle knuckle, and then the base knuckle. And the base knuckle, just press your hands together in front of you and really press into those base knuckles. They are going to help keep you from injuring your wrists or dumping all of your weight into your wrists. They also kind of serve as the brakes when you're balancing. So if you're starting to fall in one direction, you can really push into the hands to bring you back in alignment. And then I mentioned the shoulders. And the chaturanga shoulders. So we want to make sure when we're doing arm balances that we've got a nice shelf, if you will, for our body to rest on. So if our elbows are out wide or we're doing push-ups like this, we're not creating the strength and stability we're going to need to be able to balance on them later. So chaturangas are a great thing to build strength. I'm going to put my socks on now. And you'll understand in a minute why. When we're doing chaturangas, again, we are building strength, but we also want to be able to get used to the idea of our shoulders being over our wrists. So one fun way to practice doing a chaturanga is if you have a hardwood floor, move the mat forward. You start in a downward facing dog. And my feet feel really slippery, and that's good. That's what we want. All right, from the downward facing dog, we just want to be able to press into the feet and then start to drag the toes in towards the wrist. Right, push them back into a plank and pull the toes in. Maybe a little closer, maybe a little further away. So this is going to build the strength in your upper body and kind of give that cueing of where the shoulders need to be as you're coming into arm balances. Okay? So that's just one tip. I'm practicing those. I think they're called zombie drags. But don't quote me on that. That's what one of my teachers called it. But it's just a good way to build up some strength and get that awareness while you're upside down. Again, we also don't want to go into this cold. We want to warm up the body with a few sun salutations. And those sun salutations include the chaturanga. So as you're flowing, we'll just do 3 together. But what I want you to think about when you're in chaturanga is really pressing into those base knuckles, pulling the elbows into your sides so they're not splaying out and you're not hugging them in real tight. They're just naturally coming back behind you, so you're going to be creating a shelf. And also engaging the core and being mindful of the shoulders. All right, so let's start in our Tadasana mountain pose. And then once we're done warming up, we'll do a few arm balances together, right? Bring your hands to heart center. Really feel rooted down through the feet. Allowing the energy to rise up into the body, going down through the tailbone and up through the crown of the head. Take a nice deep cleansing breath in through your nose. Let's take an audible exhale out through the mouth. Letting go of any stuck energy. One more big inhale. Cleansing exhale. In the bottom of your exhale, seal your lips. We'll tune into our Ujjayi Pranayama, our victorious, powerful breath. Maybe even setting an intention. Give us the power and the strength to try these arm balances. You're just going to inhale, reach the arms up overhead. Exhale, forward fold, Uttanasana. Inhale, half lift, Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale, step back to plank, really press into those base knuckles and lower halfway down, elbows to your side, chaturanga dandasana. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. And breathe here. And check in with your hands, spreading the fingers nice and wide, pressing to the thumb and index finger, pressing into those base knuckles. And then on your next inhale, take a peek forward, travel to the top of your mat, lifting halfway when you get there, Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale, fold in, Uttanasana. Inhale, rise to standing. And then exhale, hands to heart center, Tadasana. 2 more. Inhale, arms go high. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, plant the hands. Really notice what's happening with your hands here as you lower halfway down in Chaturanga Dandasana. Inhale, upward facing. Exhale, downward facing dog. Say one more big inhale, one more big exhale. The top of your mat, inhale, half lift for length. Exhale, fold in. Let something go here. Inhale, rise to standing. Exhale, hands to heart center. Okay, one more. Inhale, arms go high. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, plant your hands, step back to plank, lower halfway down. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. Nice deep breath here. Make sure we're in that energy, your life force, your prana flowing through the body. Giving us strength to explore these arm balances. Let's just take a peek forward, walking your hands to the middle, or your feet to the middle of your mat, and have a seat. Right, one thing when we are balancing on our hands a lot, our wrists can get tired, so you want to make sure you're taking little breaks between the arm balances. And a couple of things you can just do is just shake the wrists out. You could also interlace the fingers and make figure eights with your hands. You could place one hand forward, so this is the way the hand is going to be when you're balancing on it. But if you place it down and then place the other hand just to give a little gentle stretch in the opposite direction. And we can do that with the other hand as well. Right? Rolling the wrists also help. All right, the first posture, let's just come into a yogi squat. I'm going to turn kind of at an angle for you so you can see what's happening. In yogi squat, or malasana, we're getting used to being low and bringing the hips back. All right, so getting some strength here, taking a few breaths here. Our first posture is bakasana, crow or crane pose, where we're balancing on our arms with our knees. Now, a lot of people I see will just come forward and their knees go out like this, and yes, they're balancing, but their knees are nowhere near their triceps. And if you want to get stronger and be able to push up into other arm balancing poses, we really need to get on board with using the triceps for the landing place for our knees. So in crow, walk your toes in towards your wrists, getting those shoulders over the knees, or shoulders over the wrists. And then you're going to bring your knees in towards your armpits. We're going to keep looking forward. If we look down, we're going to fall out of it. So keep looking forward, pressing the elbows or pressing the knees into the triceps. Just hinging forward, engaging the core. Maybe lift one foot, maybe lift both feet, and come down. There may be a little fear factor of, I don't want to plant my face on the ground. Okay, well, that's okay. If I were at home right now, I probably would encourage you, which you may be at home right now, grab a couple couch cushions or grab, a couple big pillows and put them right in front of your face so you don't have to worry about that. Or if you have a block, bring it right in front of you. And so instead of your face planting, you're just going to let your third eye, your sixth chakra, rest right on the block. Right? So starting And it's coming in this malasana. You can get a stretch of the hips. Bring the elbows back and let the forehead rest. And we really want to get the hips up. Maybe one leg lifts. You're like, okay, that feels all right. Okay, maybe the other one lifts. Maybe this is just where you practice. Giving yourself like 10 times on each side using the block on your forehead. Not only are you getting used to the idea of being upside down, but you're also building strength as you're doing those little exercises. Another option is to have the blocks behind you. And in this one, you're using the blocks to get your hips a little bit more height. As we stand on the blocks, again, the elbows are coming in and creating a shelf for the knees. So you can already see my knees and hips are already up pretty high. You can play here, try lift one, maybe lift both. If you can lift both, try and press the big toes together. Maybe even press the inner blades of the feet together. So those are just a couple options, different ways to get into crow pose. What else can we do in crow pose? Well, we can do side crow or parsvarabhakasana, where instead of coming in forward, we're coming in from the side. So the hand placement is the same. But instead of just being, bringing the knees behind each tricep, we're using the triceps like brackets of a shelves is what our arm is, and then our femur, in this case our left leg, is going to be the actual shelf. So bringing those hands shoulder width apart and making those chaturanga arms, can press your left knee into the back side of the right tricep. And there's a couple options. Some people will just do this and let the left arm float out and bring the legs out to the side. Depending on your flexibility, you could bring the elbow in to the left hip and hold the entire weight of the leg on your triceps. Or you can also open the legs here. This is called Ekapada Kundiniyasana 1. And bring them down. Come back through center. Give the wrists a little shake out. Right. And that made me like, oh my gosh, I just got up into side crow. Great. Right? Maybe you're like, oh man, I crashed and burned on that one. That's okay too. This is a practice. In this particular one, we do one on one side. We want to make sure we do it on the other side. So I'm going to try this one. Coming to the right. So bringing the hands shoulder width apart. This time I'm turning so that my right hip is coming towards my right elbow. My right knee is coming towards my right elbow, or left elbow. And just kind of lean into it. Right? If you've created a nice steady shelf, gaze in the direction of the bent legs. Maybe you can open the legs. And maybe as you get stronger, you have something under your head, you can switch legs. Right. Just another couple ways to play and have fun in your side crow. Give it a try. Here, let's make sure we're shaking out our wrists. Kind of give them a nice roll out. Okay. Bring them in front, bring them in back. Maybe a nice little stretch. Okay. Another position from that starting point of crow when we come into Bakasana, or when we're in Malasana, yogi squat. Instead of coming up onto the triceps, we're going to sit back on them. And this is called Titibasana, firefly pose. So if the feet are shoulder width apart and hip width apart, that's the same that we're going to want with our hands. So some people bring their hands outside the feet. I like to step my feet right on top of my hands when I do this. For me, it just makes me try a little harder, right? But I'm not going to go anywhere with this, right? If the hands are here, how am I going to get on the legs? We have to bring them inside first. So we're not out here, we're not out here. We bring them in and around. Okay? Then, do you see where we just created something to sit on? Our arms. All right, taking the gaze forward, just sitting back. Again, you could have a pillow or a cushion or anything underneath you, but really press in to those base knuckles and see if you can lift the legs up. Okay, so that's TT Basana. You could always kind of shift in a variation of crow here as well. Okay, that's TT Basana, firefly pose. What else can we do? Let's see, we did crow, we did side crow. We did a variation of flying splits, which is Eka Pada Kundini Anasana 1 from our side crow, and then we did our Titibasana firefly. Let's try doing Eka Pada Kundini Anasana 2, all right? Flying splits, we'll just call it. There's variations. But before we do that, let's just give the rest a little shake out. Make sure they feel nice and loose. All right, now there's two ways that I approach flying splits variation 2. The first is when I'm flowing in a vinyasa class and I'm in a down dog. It's a great thing to add into your practice if you're looking to bring in some intensity to your flow. And what I mean by that is, let me turn this way. I'll do my right leg first. When the teacher calls out downward facing dog, sometimes they'll invite you to lift a leg and tap the tricep and then bring it back up. Well, I would invite you to tap the tricep, hold it here, take a little push up, and come back up. Right, that's one way to add intensity. But if you want to take flight, you're going to tap, lower halfway down, lean forward, and lift the front leg. Right, that's flying splits variation 2. And that's just one way to get into it. Right, how did I do that? You can do it too. Again, if you want to put a block underneath where the head is going, that's also very helpful. When I practice, whatever legs are bent or moving, I take my gaze forward and then towards the legs to get a little bit more lift. In this case, when you're starting, and I'll kind of show it from the front here, when you're here, you've really got to hug the left elbow in to create the shelf you need to get the back leg up. Right? Let's come down, shake that out. And yes, we'll try it on the other side too. So kind of play with that. You can always hit pause, repeat, fast forward with this video. But the best thing to do is not just watch me do this, but to really try it for yourself. Okay, you'd be surprised what you're capable of. You've been doing chaturangas for years and you just didn't know that, oh, I could lift my leg up here. Or, oh, I've been doing a down dog. I could lift my leg up here. Never know till you try. Here, let's try that on the left side. So lifting your left leg, and shift forward. It's like you're in a 3-limb plank and you're going to tap the left knee to the tricep, really opening this foot out to the side. Right? Lowering halfway down to build strength and really hug in the right elbow. Send it back up. Let's take it all the way in. Tap, lower, lift. You see, I'm looking towards my toes. In and come back down. Okay. So that is flying splits, Kapada Kundiniyasana 2. But I promised to show you another way to do it, not just from down dog. So when you're in a deep stretch in a class, you could also be in dragon pose, which is when you're in a low lunge and really getting a stretch through this hip flexor. Hands usually come inside the right foot. Sometimes people come down to their forearms for a deeper stretch. And this is good prep work to get into flying splits too from here. So what you're going to do is you're going to bring your right arm underneath, or your right arm underneath your left leg. Left leg is at a 90-degree angle now. I'm going to get a 90-degree angle with my elbows, like chaturanga arms. By coming in, lifting, and flying. Right, so the front leg, I'll turn to the side so you can see it, or maybe you bring the left arm underneath the right leg. So you're trying to hook this knee on the shoulder, and that's okay if it slides down. You're working towards that strength and flexibility. Right, extending the leg out and then maybe hugging the left elbow in to lift the back leg. Right, shake my wrists out there. And of course, we're gonna do it on the other side. All right, left side. Come into your low lunge. Feeling the stretch to the right hip flexor, bringing your hands inside the left foot. Breathing here. You're going to start to move, or you could be down on your forearms. That gets you lower. Bring your left arm underneath the left leg. See how close you can pull the left knee up onto the shoulder. Maybe just lift the toes. Get used to feeling that stretch before pressing into the balls of the back foot, leaning forward, hugging the right elbow in to lift the back leg. All right, good. You try that a couple times. Again, hit pause, hit rewind, give it a try, and come back and see what's next. Okay, one last thing. We've done a bunch of arm balances, and they are inversions because we're getting upside down. The head is getting below the heart. But a lot of times when people think of inversions, they think of headstands, right? So we are going to do a couple headstands. I've learned over the years there's many different kinds of headstands. There's actually 7 in the full Ashtanga yoga series after primary, intermediate, A, B, C, and D. But only one is practiced during the primary series, and that is the forearm headstand, because we need to get strong here before we can move anything else out and around. Otherwise, 100% of our body weight is going to be on our cervical spine, and that's just really not good for your neck. So the first thing to try is just move away from the wall. And again, if you've got those big pillows stacked up, that's great. I don't think you're going to need them, but we're going to leave them there anyway. All right, I'm going to turn to the side. The first step to doing Shirsasana, which is a headstand, is doing rabbit pose. And rabbit pose is coming like kind of like child's pose, only coming to the crown of your head and reaching for your heels. And as you reach into your heels, you're really stretching the shoulders away from the ears to just like you would if you were in a handstand and you were pushing the hands and shoulders away from the ground. Right? How do you know where the crown of your head is? Like, I don't know, should I be here? Should I be back here? Just take the wrist and place it in the bridge of your nose. Walk the hand up the forehead and take the middle finger and find that very top part of your head. That is the crown of your head. So we're not tucking the chin. Again, that could be dangerous for the neck. We're not looking up. Again, dangerous and really instability in the pose. So we want to be stable. So we want that nice elongation through the neck into the crown of the head. So that is your rabbit's pose. And you could stay right here. I mean, that's a great way to practice headstand. The other option is to bring your hands and bind them together, interlace them behind your head. Right, so the pinkies are down and you're really hugging the back of your head in. This is going to keep you from bottlenecking your head. Right? Next step would be to come to your tippy toes. You're already starting to feel some weight shift in your head. That's a reminder to really press into the forearms. Right? And think about pushing the earth away with the shoulders. Right? Keep walking your feet in. Keep walking them in. Keep walking them in. And at the point where you feel like you're going to fall is the point where you fly. So just pull one foot in and then maybe the other. You can stay right here. Right? We don't have to be in a hurry to get the legs up until we're stable through the neck, the core, and then the legs. And hold it for 10 to 15 breaths. Come down the same way you got there. All right. I encourage this method a lot with my students. Again, they've never done a headstand before, but really, again, everybody's like in a hurry, not everybody, but most people, I'm generalizing, are like, oh, I'm gonna get my legs up into the air. Well, Guess what happens when you try and like use momentum and throw your legs up in the air? You end up falling over, and then you may have an even greater fear of getting upside down by not taking your time and being mindful of the body parts that you're using to get there. So let's try Sirsasana again. Again, interlacing the hands like this. You're pulling the elbows together. If the elbows are out wide, you lose your center of stability. So hug them in. Elbows are shoulder width apart. The clasped hands are supporting the back of the head to support the neck. All right, so let's come down. Crown of the head, start to walk the toes in. All right, sometimes when you just lift one leg and pull the knee in towards your chest, the other leg starts to lift. I would encourage practicing that as well. Let's try that with the other leg. So we're not lifting the leg, we're pulling it in to get our shoulders, our hips over our shoulders. And see how that other leg just wants to come up? Yeah. Right? Or maybe both legs come up at the same time. Take some nice deep breaths. Maybe you try and come down same way you got in, piking the legs. Maybe holding them here for a count of 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Gently lower them down. Good counter pose from that inversion is child's pose. Let your forehead rest on the earth. Bring the arms behind you. It also helps give the shoulders a rest on the knees. And then bring yourself up to seated. Another great benefit of getting upside down is it reverses the flow of blood. So you're bringing a fresh flow of oxygenated blood to your brain, to your throat, to your thyroid. And it's just a great way to shift your perspective and get upside down and try something new. So those are a few. There are many different variations for arm balances and inversions, but I sure am glad you joined me today for the ones we selected. And I will see you next time. Thanks for joining. Click the subscribe button if you want to learn more. Bye.